There are mornings that seem so ordinary, yet they mark the beginning of a life-changing event. That morning, when Tieu Uyen left home before dawn, she had no idea that her small decision would bring the past back to life. At home, the An woke up after a long night. The empty kitchen and Tieu Uyen's sudden disappearance filled him with an inexplicable unease. A simple bowl of instant noodles, an unspoken question, and then news from the local police reopened old wounds that he thought had healed. What made Tieu Uyen, who had suffered so deeply, choose to forgive the very person who had hurt her the most? And that peaceful morning, was it truly as peaceful as it appeared? One early morning, before the sunlight had even begun to penetrate the rooftops, Tieu Uyen had already been awake for a long time. The outside was still shrouded in a thin layer of mist, and the road in front of her house was so quiet that only the sound of someone sweeping in the distance could be heard. Tieu Uyen opened her phone, smiled gently, and cheerfully greeted everyone as she did every day. "Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a happy and peaceful day." Her voice was soft, carrying a positive energy like the early morning sun. Few knew that to achieve that serene smile, she had gone through many hardships. After greeting everyone, put on a light jacket, grabbed her bag, and left the house very early. Meanwhile, at home, the An was still fast asleep. He had just returned from a business meeting in Hanoi the previous night. His business dealings inevitably involved lengthy meetings and social gatherings with a few drinks. He only managed to doze off for a short while near dawn. The sound of birds outside the window woke him up. The An frowned, rubbing his forehead. His head felt heavy, his throat dry. He sat up slowly, looking around the room. "Where's Uyen?" The house was unusually quiet. He walked to the living room, then down to the kitchen. She was nowhere to be seen. The clock showed just past 6 in the morning. Where could she have gone so early? A feeling of emptiness washed over him. His breakfast noodles. His stomach suddenly rumbled, making him chuckle. He'd barely eaten anything all night, and now he felt a gnawing hunger. The An opened the kitchen cupboard and found a few packets of noodles. He hesitated for a moment. "I wonder if these noodles are mine or Uyen's." But hunger overcame all thoughts. The boiling water was steaming. The aroma of noodles filled the small kitchen, creating a strangely warm feeling. He ate while thinking, has Uyen had breakfast yet? Why did she go out so early today? Since everything that happened, he had unconsciously cared for her more than usual, not out of responsibility, but like a natural habit. Just as the An was washing dishes, the door creaked open. Uyen entered so quietly that she almost made no sound. Seeing him with his back turned, she gave a mischievous smile. She approached. Bang! The An jumped, almost dropping the bowl. "Oh my God! You wanted to give me a heart attack, didn't you?" Uyen giggled, her eyes sparkling with amusement. "You're such a coward." Then she suddenly noticed the pot of noodles on the stove. Hands on hips. "Huh. Who gave you permission to eat my noodles?" The An immediately explained. "I waited for you for so long. I was unbearably hungry." Uyen pretended to be serious, but the corners of her lips still curved upwards. The atmosphere in the house instantly became lively. Fear from the past. Standing close, Uyen subtly frowned. "You still smell of alcohol." Her voice softened. The An understood immediately. He gently explained that it was just entertaining clients, and he only drank a little occasionally for work. He himself didn't like alcohol at all. Uyen was silent for a few seconds. In her memory, the image of her drunk stepfather remained vivid: the noisy nights, the arguments, her mother's frightened eyes. She softly said, "I'm just afraid you'll end up like him." Leon looked at her, his gaze softening. "I would never let that happen." A simple sentence, but enough to reassure Uyen. Uyen took the fish out of the basket. "I went to the market early to buy fresh fish. We've been eating too carelessly lately," she said seriously, like someone truly caring for her family. "If you want to eat, you have to help cook." Therein chuckled. "Yes, head chef." They both began preparing lunch, the sounds of knives and cutting boards, the running water blending together to create the warm rhythm of everyday life. While cooking, Theron suddenly remembered something important. He told her about the announcement from the local police. Phuc had been arrested, and Uncle Chinwen's stepfather had been cleared and needed bail. The atmosphere suddenly quieted down. Uyen stood still for a long time. So many painful memories flooded back. The times he was drunk, the harsh words, her mother's tears. But then she sighed softly. "My mother must be very worried." After a moment of silence, she said, "Please help me bail Uncle out." Leon looked at her, not surprised, only admiring. Uyen chose to forgive, despite being hurt. He nodded and immediately called the police. When he returned home, Uncle Chin bowed his head before his wife. He confessed that he had squandered all his money on meaningless drinking parties. His voice trembled when he learned that Uyen was the one who had helped him. He sat in silence for a long time. For the first time in his life, he felt truly ashamed. Only in times of hardship did he realize who was truly sincere. He promised himself he would change, work honestly, and make amends to his family. At home, Uyen and the An continued cooking. The aroma of braised fish filled the kitchen. The soup simmered, steam fogging the window pane. The moment was so peaceful that neither of them realized they were smiling, like a real family. Just then, Nam, an old friend of the An, dropped by. The atmosphere immediately became lively. Nam looked at Uyen and teased, "Girlfriend, introduce her to me." The An immediately replied, "Just a younger sister." His voice was calm, but firm. Uyen understood he was protecting her from unnecessary curiosity. The teasing. After Nam left, Uyen burst out laughing. "An older brother?" The An pretended to be serious. "Yes, an older brother protecting you." They both laughed. The comfort between them needed no explanation. A meal and little stories. Uyen invited him in for dinner. The meal was simple but cozy. During the meal, Uyen gently told him he didn't need to be by her side all the time anymore because everything was all right. The An replied that he had rearranged his work schedule and hired more assistants so he could have time to slow down. Nam's earlier mention of his ex piqued Uyen's curiosity. She playfully pressed him for answers. The An blushed and quickly changed the subject, making her laugh uncontrollably. Laughter echoed through the small house. A moment of peace. The meal ended as the midday sun streamed into the room. No more tension. No more fear. Only simple peace remained. The past still exists, but it's no longer a burden. Those who were once hurt are learning to forgive. Those who were once lost are beginning to change. And in that small house, Tieu Uyen and the An realized that happiness sometimes isn't about grand things, just a warm meal, someone waiting for them to come home, and the feeling of being able to call that place family.